don't know. We've tried planting strawberries and tomatoes this year, and so far my strawberries have given us 4 strawberries. 4. And they've actually been alright. My tomato plants look half dead, and I got given a plant for my birthday, which is alive. So far, I'm just not very good at keeping plants. I just forget to water them. But yeah, anyway, this will be random. So I'm just going to do a varied amount of sounds, and then I'll probably read some of my book, which is called A Date with Death. It's actually pretty good. It's a crime book, and I don't normally read crime books as such. I tend to watch crime videos, but yeah, I don't tend to read. I just prefer to watch things and listen, because I find more goes in when I'm watching or listening something rather than me sat there physically reading. I managed to find my normal hairbrush that didn't have Boo Face written on, because my other one has. Someone thought it was funny to do. I've straightened my hair today for the first time in about a month and a half. It feels so soft today. I needed the hairband that she had in, so yeah, that's her hair in all its glory. She's molting a lot. About that, my bird started chirping. She's very annoying like that. She does it at the most inappropriate times, normally when I'm trying to do something. Just flatten that. And I've got quite like this sort of sound. McDonald's reopened near us today. So luckily I managed to get one of those. I haven't had one in 11 weeks. Which is unusual for me because I'm not very healthy and we tend to have one every Friday. I have, however, saved money. Just trying random things. Also have some tweezers to your eyebrows. Got one. Got one. I cannot do my eyebrows myself. I think it hurts too much. I'm a little bit of a baby. I don't have a very high pain threshold. But I don't mind having it done at the beauty salon. I love having my eyebrows waxed. But just at home, nope. I think because I know what's going to happen when you do it at home. I didn't think that's as loud as... That's better. I am going to go and get. I am going to go and get. I am going to go and get. I don't really know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to go read that quite book, or I'm going to do it inaudible. You can't really hear what I'm saying. I think that would be quite good. So yeah, let's crack on with that. So, I'm going to read you a little bit about this book. So, I'll probably read a few pages of it. Or maybe like the first chapter. I've read it and it had, I don't know, it's quite good. I could have put it down. I read it in about 6 hours. It's by Mark Roberts, and it's called A Date with Death. And it says here, intricate, fast pace with a sense of the macabre. All they wanted was to find their happy ever after. This is from the Works bookshop. Right, the back says, all they ever wanted was to find their happy ever after. Instead, they met their deaths. 3 women have been killed in Liverpool. The MO points to a stranger, and now DCI Eve Clay is on the trail of a vicious man who preys on the lonely women he finds on dating sites. Every message he sends them is signed off in the same way. Kiss, kiss, night, night. Now his crimes are escalating, and Eve has to stop him before another girl dies. But first, she needs to find him, and that means going undercover online and posing as his perfect victim. And then, one of the most thought-provoking, powerful serial killing murderers I have ever read. So, yeah, let's start. The first one is called The Past. In 1977, when her father returned from Oxford Street Maternity Hospital, she didn't know if the new baby was a boy or a girl. She asked how the baby was doing, and the answer came as cold silence she knew so well, and that made her want to be sick. Following this, she knew not to ask after her mother. That night she lay in her bed wondering about the baby and thinking about her mother in hospital. She heard the telephone ring in the hall downstairs. She got out of bed and crept 4 paces, one for every year of her life, to her bedroom door and listened to her father answering the telephone. Yeah, he sounded at his angriest, and in one slur word, fear overwhelmed her. There was a silence as her father listened to the person on the other end. If you must know, the little bastard's a boy. Bastard. It was a word she didn't know the meaning of, a word her father used frequently, but one she had never learned to repeat. After the slap in the face he'd given her, the one and only time she'd said it. Downstairs he slammed the receiver in its cradle, and she scurried back to her bed, burying herself under the blankets and pretending to be fast asleep. At some point, as she didn't know when, she drifted into a dreamless sleep. As usual, at 7:45, her father left the home to run his business, leaving her alone with Mrs. Doyle, the cleaning lady who'd been given a few pounds to stay with her, but who she'd overheard given strict instructions not to talk to her, and especially not to answer any questions about the little shit. Same as bastard, she guessed, but she watched a scene in the hall between there was something wrong with her baby brother. Lunchtime, when the antique grandfather clock chimed 12 in the hall downstairs, the phone rang and Mrs. Doyle answered it. "Hello?" Mrs. Doyle sounded as plain and scared as she felt. She listened and heard her father's voice leaking from the telephone receiver, not talking then, shouting. "Half-past the hour it is then, sir." Sir, the name Mrs. Doyle had been commanded to call her father. She stood at the top of the bedroom window, but couldn't see the whole garden and drive at the front of the house. On her knees, she pushed her toy box to the window, and when she managed to get in there, she climbed up and had a perfect view of what lay below. She waited and heard a quarter-hour chimed, and guessed that something important was going to happen when the clock sounded at half-hour. In the top left-hand corner of her bedroom window, she saw a fly struggling against the stickiness of a spider's web, and watched as the arachnid drifted towards its prey. It wrapped a tight thread around the fly, and before long the captured bug looked like it was entombed in a mini blanket. The throb of the engine of her father's Bentley, as it slowed to turn into the drive at the front of the house, brought her back into the moment. The gravel against the tyres of her father's car grated, and as he pulled up to the sharp halt, he knew that things were not going to be good. The driver's door swung open, and her father got out and pulled a sharp halt with the door, then slamming it shut. His mouth was moving as he fumbled with his house keys, making his way to the front door. She watched the Bentley as her father opened the door, stomped inside the house, and threw the door back on himself. Slowly, the back door of the car opened, and her mother stepped out onto the gravel. Even from the height of her bedroom window, she could tell that her mother was crying. Mother was dressed in a fur coat and hat, wearing flat-back shoes and a green skirt. She knew her father spent a lot of money on the clothes, because he often repeated the same phrase to his mother. Sometimes in anger, sometimes not. Nice and close to you. "Your outfits are costing me an arm and a fucking leg." Mother leaned into the back of the car, and after a few moments, she emerged with a small wicker basket, which she carried towards the front door. She looked down from her bedroom window onto the top end of the basket and saw a small ball of pink flesh, the baby's face. Her brother, her brand new baby brother. All the uneasiness rose from her and was replaced by a sense of awe and wonder. In her head, a picture she had seen of Jesus walking on the water flashed before her memory, and as she watched her mother bringing the baby closer to the house, she said to herself in a brittle whisper, "It's like a miracle." The house was filled with the sound of the doorbell as her mother rang to be let in. "Don't fucking talk to her, Mrs. Doyle. Don't say anything nice about the baby, or I'll fire you on the spot." "Yes, sir." She crept at speed at the top of the stairs and watched Mrs. Doyle walk to the front door, her stomach dancing as a net of butterflies was unleashed inside her. Mrs. Doyle opened the front door, stood to one side as her mother stepped into the house with her baby brother in a basket. the same sour energy that he had opened it. Her mother looked at Mrs. Doyle, who was slipping her arms into the same coat she had worn forever. "Mrs. Doyle," said her mother. Mrs. Doyle shook her head and opened the front door to leave. As Mrs. Doyle left, her mother placed her baby brother back in the basket and took off her fur coat. The baby started to cry, and her mother said, "All right, all right." Her mother pulled up her sweater and, picking up the baby, fastened him to her left breast, walking around the hall and rocking him. The baby stopped crying, and her mother walked out of the house and into the garden. She listened. Through the walls of the house came a sound she knew very well. As her mother fed the new baby, the grandfather clock ticked, hitting the air with a stern metal finger. And beneath this there was that other sound. In the morning room, her mother wept. So, Chapter 1. Day 1, Wednesday, 1st of December, 2021. Cadotrophobia, the fear of mirrors. 6:44 a.m. The tide went out and death came in. Detective Chief Inspector Eve Clay walked along the mud flats of the River Mersey towards the remains of a human being. Guiding herself forward in the pre-dawn darkness with a torch that sliced the freezing gloom before her. Walking further away from the concrete promenade that followed the twisting path of the river, Clay felt her rubber boots being sucked into the thick slit beneath her feet. Tall and slim, with long brunette hair snatched back in a ponytail, Clay looked ahead at the random pattern of jagged black rocks and the dead person beyond them, but knew there was no mileage in using them as stepping stones. Being floored on the mud with a broken ankle was simply not an option. Clay glanced back at the Sergeant Paul Price from Scientific Support. A seagull landed close to the woman's body, looking up and down with jet black eyes. Clay quickened her pace in the direction of the body, deeper into the freezing mist that masked the Wirral Peninsula on the opposite bank of the river Mersey. The destruction to a dead woman's face was now clear to see. Her eyeballs poked out of the sockets and a swollen and bitten tongue just jumped out of her mouth. Definitely number 2. Clay recorded an image from a local television news broadcast that had quickly progressed into the national media. Sandra O'Day was a slim, blonde woman in her mid-20s, slaughtered in the late summer of 20 or so miles away in Warrington. Clay looked down at what was left of the woman in front of her and thought, yes, the same again. Where her shoulder-length hair should have hung down in a sorrowful clumps, there was nothing except the side of her head, her left ear missing, leaving a pitiful hole in her face. Clay stood where the seagull had just flown up from and looked at her body from the feet upwards. Her feet were blue, but there were no apparent damage to them. Anything, called Stone. She's not the perpetrator's first. I'm guessing she was a natural blonde, replied Clay. How do you know? Her legs were slim and long, just like the other victim she knew of. Her face was a knot of purple muscle. He skinned her face and scalped her. In the sky to the east, the first crooked finger of muddy light appeared, pointing down in a direction of the docks at Carston, and reminded her of just how close to home she was. Clay pictured her son Philip asleep in his bed, and her husband Thomas getting up into their bedroom, ready for the start of another day without her, because she had been drawn away by the imperative of work. She dismissed any notion of a home, as her eyes paused at the surreal sight of the woman's limp hands, fingers, floating strangely in a shallow pool around them, as if there were a semblance of life still in her. What's he doing with part of you he removed? She asked herself, taking a series of deep breaths to bottle the sour emotion the question provoked, and the bitter taste in her mouth that accompanied it. Stone arrived just behind Clay. Last August in Warrington, replied Clay. Sandra O'Day. She was blonde and in her mid-20s. She was dumped in the River Irwell after being missing for 10 or 11 days. Scalped with her face removed. They stood in silence over the woman's body, the dark air around them studded with flashes of light as Sergeant Pearl Price took a series of photographs. Clay stopped, pointed her torch at the base of the woman's neck and up to her jawline. She saw a place where the perpetrator had cut her scalp and her face. She pushed into her memory to recall the name given to the killer by the tabloid press when it first struck in Warrington, but it eluded her. What do you want me to do? asked Stone. Stay right there, Carl. Oversee the AEPDs and scientific support. Detective Sergeant Terry Mason walked past the body and looked at the mud flaps, as Sergeant Paul Price continued taking pictures of the woman's body. What are you thinking, Terry? asked Clay. I'm thinking this is the crime scene from hell, replied Mason. Clay stood up and, taking out her mobile phone, dialed Detective Sergeant Gina Riley on the shore. "I can see you from the promenade, Eve. What's happening?" "I think the victim may well be from Liverpool." "Okay." Clay heard a silver of doubt beneath the natural tone of Riley's voice. "How do I know? A woman's body was found in the water in Warrington earlier this year. If this is what I'm pretty sure it is, our victim's a girl local to us, either on the Wirral or somewhere within a mile of here, in South Liverpool suburbs. Aigburth, Mossley Hill, or the Sefton Park districts." "I know what the case you mean. Warrington police got nothing on the perpetrator. It was like she'd been abducted, murdered and dumped by the Invisible Man." With deepening dismay, Clay remembered the same, looked at the pool of water surrounding the body of the rock that propped her up. "Gina, we need to know who this is. Can you please get in touch with Barry Cole and ask him to trawl through the missing persons? Liverpool, recent weeks, female, blonde, 20 to 40 years of age." "I'll do that right now, Eve." "And line up victim liaison. I'm 90% certain we're going to be breaking the worst news possible to her next of kin before today's out." "Thank you, Gina." Clay closed the call. She called Paul. Sergeant Price stopped taking pictures and looked at Clay. "I'm going to lift her head. I want you to take pictures of the back of her head, please." Clay slid both of her hands between the muddy rock and the back of the victim's black head. The backs of her hands felt grainy in the wet as they slid along the mud, and her fingers sensed the contours of the skull beneath the muscle. "I am sorry," said Clay, beneath her breath as she lifted up the woman's head from the rock. She looked at the back of her skull and thin, wet muscles, covering the bone and skin at the base of her throat. "Paul, place a light on the skin beneath her jawline on her throat." As the torchlight hit skin, Clay saw the rough smudges around her throat and said, "Strangulation, same MO as Warrington." In a handful of seconds she went through the killer's logic. Strangulation, up close and personal, and full of sadistic joy, feeling her life drain out through his fingertips and thumbs. Clay lowered the woman's head back into the water and noticed that Detective Sergeant Terry Mason looked like a man seeking for a wafer-thin slice of the meaning in a storm of chaos. "Terry," she called. "It's literally and metaphorically a fucking washout, Eve." It was only the third time in 15 years that she had heard Mason swear. She looked at the mortuary van on the promenade. "The anatomical pathology technicians, Terry. They might as well come down here and pick her up now." "I'll make that call, Eve," said Stone. In the sky, the finger of haze light was widening, stretching out either end, and Clay faced a grim conclusion. "Carl, come on. There's nothing we can do here. I need to talk to the constables who found her." She walked back towards the concrete steps that she had just climbed down. "Terry, as soon as the ATBs leave here, call me. I'll meet them at the mortuary when she arrives there." Clay took out her iPhone and dialed Detective Constable Barney Cole. As he connected the call in the incident room at Trinity Road Police Station, Clay heard his voice but was lost in the woman's dead eyes staring from the raw muscles that once opened her missing lids. "Eve, Eve, When you've finished your trawl through missing persons, I need you to contact Warrington Police. Ask them for everything that they've got on Sandra O'Day, the River Airwell victim, August this year. I need to speak to the SIO on that case. Roll the ball as fast as you can.